Joe Biden's brought chaos back to the Middle East, let criminals run wild on the streets, and does nothing to stop cartels from running our border.
But the Biden campaign thinks that Republicans are extreme.
Donald Trump or whichever extremist is finally in a position where they can start trying to compete with us, it's just going to be too late.
You have the most extreme slate of MAGA Republican candidates in history running for the Republican nomination. Democrats who are fighting for more freedom, who are standing up for our democracy, and Republicans who are trying to tear down the very fabric of our democracy.
Joining us now, OutKick founder Clay Travis and the host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless on OutKick, Tomi Lahren. Clay, did those whack jobs see what was happening outside the White House on Saturday?
Of course they did, but they're not going to cover it because it doesn't fit the narrative. Look, the Biden administration, assuming that Biden is the nominee, which I think both Tommy and myself don't believe that he will be, but let's presume that he is. The only two things they have to run on are January 6th and abortion. And let's just go to Jan 6th, since it's the one you're talking about right now. Look, what is the argument here? That somehow Republicans are a greater threat to democracy, even though Joe Biden and his allies in the Department of Justice are trying to put their chief political adversary, Donald Trump, in prison for the rest of his life and also remove him from ballots? I just don't think it plays. I don't think it works in 2024, and that leaves them with abortion, and I think it's hard to go after Trump on abortion. And so I think they're going to be in a really difficult spot where ultimately, if Biden were the nominee, all everybody can talk about is how decrepit, old, and physically and mentally unable to do the job Joe Biden is.
You know, Tommy, Dagan mentioned what happened at the White House the other day with the pro-Hamas protesters. But let's be honest, these are Democrats. BLM, they're Democrats. Antifa, they're Democrats. All the violence that we see in our country is coming from Democrats, but they have the audacity to say Republicans are extreme?
I think it's that age-old question. If leftists do something wild and the media refuses to cover it or refuses to cover it accurately, did it really happen? Well, in the eyes of a lot of leftists and those that are watching other mainstream news networks, no, it just simply didn't happen because they see it through the frame of it being mostly peaceful or about justice or about peace for the Palestinians. I mean, they see things through the lens that the media reports it in. But as Clay mentioned, everything on the Democrat agenda is extreme, from crime to the wide open border, 6 to 10 million illegal immigrants under Biden so far. Everything that they have done and will do is extreme. There's not really one thing that they can outline about mega Republicans that's extreme beyond January 6th, and that's played out at this point. So unless they can outline something new that's extreme, I don't think it's going to play. And if their version of extreme is securing the border, ending foreign wars, law and order, affordable gas prices, affordable groceries, I guess maybe that's the kind of extreme the American people are looking forward to, and meganomics might be what we're really yearning for each and every single day.
Fani Willis, the Georgia district attorney taking Trump to court on RICO charges, is finally acknowledging the heat her office is getting over her alleged lover boy. And to no surprise, she is blaming the media attention all on race.
Oh, she gonna play the race card now. But no, God, isn't it them who's playing the race card when they only question one?
Clay, the judge overseeing this case, plans to schedule a hearing on these allegations next month. So we'll get to find out why her alleged paramour was paid $650,000 over 2 years, and he mostly dealt with traffic tickets when he was a judge.
Yeah, maybe she slept with the other two people she hired, too. And if that were the case, maybe there'd be a lot of questions about that as well. Nobody cares about the race of the prosecutor. No one cares about the race of her paramour, her mister, her whatever you want to call him. But if you hire the person that you're sleeping with, and if you give them $650,000 in taxpayer funds, and if by chance you also potentially break up his marriage, I don't think it's too much to ask whether or not it might be improper and whether this individual should continue to be involved in this investigation at all. Not to mention, I think there's a decent chance that this is criminal behavior by her. I don't understand what Georgia Republicans are doing here. There should be a massive investigation. I give credit to Jim Jordan and the House Judiciary Committee for opening their own investigation here. I think this Atlanta situation, maybe most fascinatingly in large part here, could turn into an examination into the collusion surrounding all these charges that were brought against Trump, all because Fani Willis couldn't pick anybody else in Atlanta to sleep with other than the guy she gave $650K to, allegedly.
But Tommy, do people tire of every bad act, everything that happens always comes back to race? Do the voters even in Atlanta tire of all of these racist claims?
Well, it's worked thus far. Every time that somebody that checks a certain box is criticized of something, that they can use said box to try to get themselves out of hot water. But in that speech, she also mentioned that black women need to be given grace, that they're not perfect. And how condescending is that to black women, that they wouldn't be able to run a DA's office without appointing their boo thing and then paying them a lot of taxpayer funds and then going on cruises, Royal Caribbean cruises into Napa. I think that black women are perfectly capable of being able to conduct themselves. Unfortunately, Fani Willis, maybe not so much.
Tommy, Clay, thank you. And by the way, Clay, Rachel, after her stellar predictions on Saturday on Fox and Friends, is looking for her debut on OutKick as well, so she's waiting for
She's
your
going
text.
to take my job. I know. She's going to take over OutKick. She nailed it. Will Kane and I looking ridiculous. Congratulations to your Packers on the whipping of the Cowboys of Tomi Lahren's Dallas Cowboys, by the way.
Sorry, Tommy. It was a great game. Say nothing. Thank you both.
Love it.